It was 11:30 at night when Marie entered the house, still shaken by what had just happened. Her mind was in turmoil, as were her emotions. She headed to the kitchen to drink a glass of water, leaving her bag and keys on the kitchen table, and was already on her way to the bedroom when her phone started ringing. She went back since she had left it in her bag, grabbed it, and saw her daughter's name on the screen. At this hour? Her heart suddenly tightened. "Yes, honey," she replied when she answered. "Mom, don't freak out. Are you sitting down?" Marie felt the gravity in her daughter's voice and immediately sat down, bracing herself for bad news. "Tell me, honey. What's going on?" "Mom, I just hung up the phone. I was talking to a doctor. Dad was shot in the back, and he is currently being transferred to a hospital in Dubai." Even though she was sitting, a wave of vertigo passed through her body. She felt the ground wanting to open beneath her feet and her heart pounding in her ears. "But how is he? It seems serious." "They can't give me any more news yet. They called me because I was listed as an emergency contact. For now, they just told me they stabilized him and are evacuating him to Dubai, to a top private hospital, where he will be operated on." "We need to go to Dubai," Marie replied resolutely. "Mom, don't start getting worked up. You're not going to do anything in Dubai. They probably wouldn't even let you see him. I just told you because they say it's serious, and I want you to know. You're not going to do anything reckless or go anywhere. You'll do like me and wait. He's in excellent hands, with the best doctors in the region taking care of him. We'll wait. Understood?" Marie took a deep breath, and although it wasn't what she wanted, she knew her daughter was right. "Yes. But promise me you'll let me know as soon as you hear anything." "I promise, Mom. Now let me notify James, as I haven't told him yet." They hung up, and Marie remained stunned, sitting there not knowing what to do. Fridays seemed to have a knack for being bad days for her. She went upstairs, took off her clothes, took a shower, lay down, but sleep did not come, chased away by worry. She got up, went to the kitchen where she sat with a notepad and a pen and began to write. "I know you will never read these words, and that's why I know I can say anything here. I don't want you to think that I'm writing these lines to justify anything. What I did has no justification, and you knew that, even when I convinced myself otherwise. I can't imagine the pain I caused you, so I don't even dare to ask for forgiveness for something I don't even understand. And we both know that I don't deserve it. Even so, I wish I could be there by your side, to support you, help you, to take care of you. What I'm about to tell you may seem strange, but since you'll never read this, it won't make a difference. First, I want to tell you that your wedding ring accompanies me every day wherever I go. I've put it on a necklace and keep it close to my heart. Do you remember the man you saw me leaving the party with? No, I'm not bringing him up to hurt you, although it might seem that way, but I have to tell you this. His name is William. A few months ago, I ran into him by chance. Well, I confess, it wasn't by chance. He has business with my boss, Fernando, and we crossed paths when he came to the company for a meeting. By the way, as a side note, yes, I'm working now, and Fernando, just so you know, is Lisa's husband. They have been helping me much more than I think I deserve. But back to William. When we met, he mentioned that he had heard what happened and invited me for a coffee after work, so we could talk a bit. I ended up accepting. We talked, and I told him what had happened, since he didn't really know, only had heard rumors, and it was a good talk. He left me a card with his contact information, which I didn't use. 2 weeks later, he came back to the company and invited me again. I went again, and once more, the conversation was pleasant, and it felt good to have someone to talk to. Since he didn't have my phone number, he started calling my work phone to invite me, and these coffees became a weekly occurrence. To be honest, at one point I was already looking forward to these coffees, not for the company of a man, but because we seemed to be establishing a great friendship. We'd drink coffee, and I could talk about everything, and he always had a sympathetic smile, someone who encouraged me. It was a kind of therapy for me to have someone to talk to, a mirror that listened to my worries and fears without judgment. I started to confide my fears and frustrations to him, and he, on a smaller scale, did the same, talking about things that weren't going well in his professional or personal life. In recent weeks, he began inviting me to dinner and some fun afterward, like going to the theater or something similar. I kept refusing, but he kept insisting, telling me I deserved a little fun. Curiously, I gave in today. It felt good to get ready to go out for the first time in a year. No, if you want to know, I didn't wear any revealing dress or anything special, but still, it felt good to go out in slightly different clothes than what I wear every day. He picked me up, and we went to the restaurant. During the meal, I noticed his more insistent glances, but, to tell you the truth, they were actually good for my ego. Despite the looks, he remained a perfect gentleman. We went to see a play, a comedy, and I have to admit I had a lot of fun. I laughed like I hadn't in a long time. It was turning out to be a Good Friday. We left the theater, and he brought me home. We talked about the play we had seen on the way. We arrived and stayed in the car chatting a bit. But his gaze became more penetrating, and the conversation faded until we were staring at each other. I could clearly see in his eyes what he wanted, and I have to confess, it wasn't easy to resist. In the end, despite everything, you know darn well that I'm a hot-blooded female, and toys and imagination don't replace a presence. The alcohol from dinner, the good mood, the loneliness, were putting me in a state I didn't want to be in, but by this time my brain was screaming for me to stop, but my body was reacting, and I was petrified. But then he said, "I still can't believe your husband left you like this. I would never do that to you. You know, a year has finally passed. You can free yourself from that burden and move on, free," and you might not believe it, but at that moment, your ring seemed to get heavier around my neck, and it was as if I suddenly woke up from a dream. At that moment, I believe my expression must have changed quite a bit. He noticed and tried to take back what he had said, but it was too late. I realized completely his intentions. Not that I hadn't had my suspicions before, but I was overlooking them, perhaps too naively. I ended up thanking him for the evening and the time he had spent with me, the friendship and support, but I told him it was better not to see each other again. I could see the disappointment on his face, but he didn't insist. I got out of the car, and he left. And I was still grappling with these thoughts when I heard news that you're fighting for your life. I can't help but feel guilty for everything, even for you being there, in that state. But I want you to know that you are my husband, you are my man, and you may hate me or never speak to me again, but as far as I'm concerned, our marriage will never be undone, at least until you want it to be. And, if you want it to be done, I won't want anything from you, not even what you left behind. In recent months, I've been working and holding myself together, and I've gained some pride in that. I know you will never read these words, that they are nothing more than me venting not knowing what to do. But I want you to know that I am, forever, yours. That I was wrong, that I am imperfect, and that my mistake was so great that it doesn't deserve forgiveness. But this imperfect being belongs to you, body and soul, whether you believe it or not. She finished writing with tears in her eyes, looked at the pages where some tears had fallen and blurred the ink, crumpled the pages, and threw them in the trash, heading to the bedroom where she patiently waited for sleep, which stubbornly refused to come. It was in the trash that Patricia found the sheets when she entered the house early the next day, while her mother was still sleeping. After reading them, with a heavy heart, she straightened the sheets as best as she could, ironing them to remove as many creases as possible, and then carefully folded the sheets and